Alright, I don't know how many times I've been trying this thing, but I'm going to keep saying it, and I'm going to keep saying it. I having horrible luck trying to put this one video out. First, it's the operating system, then Camstudio doesn't want to work for me, and now when I thought I had a decent video out, I found out that the page itself was lopsided. Just, good gravy. But anyway, I am Joel Maurer, and back from the brink of death, we have current tech news. Today's story, we have Atari. Mainly Atari's work from the 1980s. Atari's ET game cartridges unearthed in New Mexico desert. Published in April 27th, 2014. The news is from foxnews.com, in case you're curious. And we have ourselves a picture of Zach Penn showing off the game itself. The game that they, of course, found, along with hundreds of more, in Alamogordo, New Mexico. I wonder why they want to do this. But, oh well. A decades-old urban legend was put to rest Saturday when workers for a documentary film production company recovered Atari game cartridges from a heap of garbage buried deep in the New Mexico desert. This has got to be the worst treasure hunt anyone wants to be on, apparently. Would you like to go... would you like to really go to New Mexico to start digging holes in a desert looking for treasure? Okay, this is starting to sound like the movie Holes. Except the prize is not that good. Oh well, moving on. The Atari grave was, until that moment, a highly debated tale among game enthusiasts and self-described geeks for 30 years. For 30 years. Like, yes, it's true. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Shut up. The story claimed that in its death throes, the video game company Atari sent about a dozen truckloads of cartridges of what may be called the worst video game ever to be forever hidden in a concrete-covered landfill in southeastern New Mexico. With that, I believe that's true. Worst game ever? I think there's probably worse out there in this day and age. I'll just say one of the worst. Anyways. The search for the cartridges of a game that contributed to the demise of Atari will be featured in an upcoming documentary about the biggest video game company in the early 80s. Oh, this is going to be exciting. And I hope to goodness I get to watch it. Because let's face it, video games is my thing, and I really want to know what about Atari. As well as Nintendo. And I need to know about the video game industry from the beginning to the end. And by end, we mean current day. I don't think it's going to be ending anytime soon, at least from my opinion. As the pack host scattered a huge scoop of 30-year-old trash and dirt over the sand, the film crew spotted boxes and booklets carrying the Atari logo. Soon after, a game cartridge turned up, then another and another. Oh boy, it's like striking gold during the times where the West was wild and free and the like. Only instead of gold nuggets, you're digging up the video game equivalent of cow turds. Film director Zach Penn showed assembled gaming fans one cartridge retrieved from the site and said that hundreds more were in the surrounding mounds of garbage. I bet everyone was excited when they heard that. Then again, probably. Who knows? About 200 residents and game enthusiasts gathered early Saturday in the old landfill in Alamo Gordo to watch the crew search for up to 1 million discarded copies of E.T. However, most of the crowd decided to get out of there because of strong winds that kicked up massive clouds of dust mingled with garbage. However, Penn says this: "I feel pretty relieved and psyched that they actually got to see something." He said this as members of the production team shift through mounds of trash, pulling out boxes, games, and other Atari products. I'm not wondering what else was buried down there. Probably worth check on the internet later. By the time the games were found, only a few dozen people remained. What I said earlier. Some people were playing the infamous game in a makeshift gaming den with a TV and a 1980s game console in the back of a van. He says that he hits the mic again. While others took selfies beside a life-size E.T. doll inside a DeLorean car, like the one that was turned into a time machine in the Back to the Future movies, which I think is a better movie trilogy than what E.T. could be. But that's just me. Among the watchers was Armando Ortega, a city official who was a teenager back in 1983, who got a tip from a landfill employee about the massive dump of games. I'm just surprised. It's like, wow. I sound so deadpan. It was pitch dark here at night, but we came with our flashlights and found dozens of games. Wow, dozens! Oh boy, we got prizes! They braved the darkness, the coyotes, the snakes, to get to the desert landfill, as well as had to sneak past the security guard there. But it paid off as they found dozens of crushed but still playable games. Jeez, I wonder if these games can rival the durability of a Nintendo game. The game's finding came to no surprise to James Heller, a former Atari manager who was invited by the production to the dig site. He says in 1983 the company tasked him with finding an inexpensive way to dispose of 728 game cartridges. I'm highlighting this number so you guys can see it. That number is not a lie. 728,000 of them were in a warehouse in El Paso, Texas in 1983. After a few kids ran into trouble from scavenging and the media started calling him about it, he decided to pour a layer of concrete over the games. Hoping to forget about it anyways. However, he says this in the interview at the dig site. That's my guess anyways. I never heard about it again and until June 2013 when I read an article about E.T. being excavated. He was not aware of the controversy and never spoke out because nobody asked. Quotation marks. The documentary about the search will be developed by companies including Xbox Entertainment Studios, and the film is expected to be released later this year on Microsoft Xbox game consoles. So basically, if you have a 360 or you're unfortunate enough to get a Xbox One, you got yourself the film of discovering E.T. right there. I have no idea if the 360 is going to be showing this or not. One can hope. The city of Alamo Gordo agreed to give the documentarians up to 250 game cartridges and plan to sell the rest that are unearthed. Who's going to buy the rest of the 728,000 of them? Oh boy. I am going to be... This is just... wow. Mayor Susie Galea hopes this brings more tourists in the southeastern New Mexico town that is home to an Air Force base and White Sands National Monument. She says that lots of people just pass through, unfortunately. You know, I believe now you got yourself a new landmark. Come on down to Alamogordo, New Mexico, where we have the New Mexico Air Force Base, the White Sands National Monument, as well as the fabled Atari Graveyard. The E.T. game is among the factors blamed for the decline of Atari and the collapse in the U.S. of a multi-million-dollar video game industry. It didn't bounce back for several years. In my honest opinion, I think it bounced back around 1985. Why? Nintendo. With the whether or not E.T. was buried in Alamogordo controversy solved, the other part of it, the other debate still remains. Was it the worst game ever unleashed on gamers? Being a gamer myself, I have to say, not really. There is worse. If you just to name a few: big rigs, over-the-road racing, and Ride to Hell. Just to name a few. Tina Amini, deputy editor of at a gaming website Kotaku, said the game tanked because it was practically broken. With that, the E.T. fallen into traps that were almost impossible to escape and would appear constantly and unpredictably. I've seen an LP of this one time, and let me tell you, it can get tricky. More than tricky. And who knows. The game designer Howard Scott Warshaw said he didn't mind his creation being called that. It may be a horrible game, but 32 years after, you're here talking to me about it. It is a tremendous honor. That it still generates public discord. Oh, Howard. He, however, manages to stress that the company took too long to secure the rights for the game, and with Christmas production schedules pressing, it was left with just 5 weeks to design, write, and test the worst game ever. Okay, I'm going to have to say this. For those that are probably never even heard of Atari, a long time ago, just one person made the video game. This is not a new thing with the independent gamers anyways. Now, normally for an Atari game, it takes about at least 6 months to make a game in a small quantity. Scott, on the other hand, only had about 5 to 6 weeks to make it before Christmas and have at least 1 million of those copies ready for stores. Oh boy. I bet the stress with building. But my opinions on this whole thing altogether. I'm honestly glad that this urban legend has now become urban history. So now we just found ourselves a lost chapter of video game history. And on April 26, 2014 too. This is just the biggest thing ever. I mean, how can you top this? I honestly do not know. All we do know is I am just glad that I am living in a day and age where video games can have much better production time, much more entertaining, and also few in the department of, oh God, why did you make this? Well, with that being said, this is Joe Maurer. This has been Current Tech News, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Game on.